How's everybody doing on this Saturday afternoon? Sal Capano here once again. We're going to talk a little bit about cigars and some movies. By the way, it's a turn around here. Vegas Classic Series 5. Good little smoke. Good everyday smoke. Medium to full body. Um, Thank you for subscribing to my channel and welcome back. And if you're new, consider on subscribing to my channel. Um, Great conversations on cigars and just anything else you might want to talk about. Great money tips, great information on pulling unemployment. If you're new to my channel, and vaccine and give you great advice on how to collect your unemployment and extensions. All right, so welcome. Hit the subscribe button right now. I won't let you down. Hit the like button. Share the video. We want from me. All right, so we're going to talk about, and I want you guys to leave your comments about your top. Today I'm going to do my top, what we got here, 3, 4, 5, my top 8 list in mob movies. And some of them might surprise you, and some of them might not. So leave your top, leave your top 3 movies. I'm going to give you my top 8 movies. So, we want from me. It's I'm in an Italian mood here. All right, my favorite my top in 1972. You know where I'm going with this is The Godfather Part 1 and 2, both of them together. Godfather Part 3 was good, but 1 and 2 are my top lists right there. Robert De Niro and Godfather. Robert De Niro, a lot of people forget in Part 1 playing. Vito Corleone was an amazing actor, playing the part in Sicily and Corleone Sicily. Thought he did a great job. And you know, he had to learn Italian language and that, and how he became the Godfather. So he was an underrated part. I think he played a spectacular part. A little bit of history on that. De Niro wasn't going to be the character in that. They were thinking about having Michael Corleone play that part, but the rest is history. Part 2 was amazing. Al Pacino just slam dunked it. In my opinion, probably the best. My opinion, best actor, not Italian actor, but best actor ever. I can go on and on. Serpico, Scarface, amazing. Of course, Godfather, and many others. I think he blew it out of the park. My favorite part is when he got beat up by the police, and you know, and for those, hopefully you already watched it, but the family didn't want him involved. He was in the army, and anyhow, he was protecting his father who got gunned down, and so he wants to kill top cop. A cop back then, they would just beat the shit out of you. Talking about now, I'm not going to get off of that, but yeah, Italians got bounced around a little bit, broke his nose, and they sit around with his brother Sonny, and the brothers, and he says with the Italian family, he goes, "I'm going to kill him." Well, how are you going to do that? And he comes out in the scene when he comes out of the bathroom, and they hid the gun and back then in the old toilets up in that, and he a little bit trouble finding it, and then coming out, and he was supposed to shoot right away. A little Italian restaurant, and good for veal parmesan, and anyhow, he comes out of it. I forget the name of the restaurant. Well, for me, he comes out, he sits down, continues the conversation in Italian, Al Pacino, and then he kills them both. Kills the cop, and then kills down the guy who shot his father. One of the 5 families. A beautiful scene. My other favorite part in that movie was when he was in Corleone, Sicily, where my grandmom's from, and when he meets the Apollonian, and he has to get permission. Back then, you have to have permission from the father to marry the daughter, and you could tell he was a little nervous in that, but had the balls to sit down and tell him how appreciated it is and how beautiful it is to be in the family. So that was in Godfather Part 2. So there's my top 2 right there. Yeah, and in my second, my surprise you was Donnie Brasco. Donnie Brasco, once again, Al Pacino, and just a great part. You know, Al Pacino bringing in a son that he had a son who actually met his real son. He was in the movie for a little bit. Forget his name at the moment, but he never. His son was always involved with drugs, and brings in Brasco, and who was an undercover agent into the mob, and who eventually brings down the whole the whole mob, and got really attached to this enforcement. So it was one of my, I would have to say that was my second favorite. And then my number third was Goodfellas. I think Joe Pesci blew it out. Joe Pesci, I think that's what really made Joe Pesci. I think that set his career up. Joe Pesci, particularly the scene when he's sitting down, he goes, and he's telling a joke. What do you think? It's funny? What's so fucking funny? It was just amazing. He's sitting there with his crew, and he had no trigger. He'd kill anybody. And then hopefully he's already seen that movie. But at the end, he thought he was getting made, and they kill him. But a cocky, short Italian man, just have balls and a fist before the gun, the fist too. That was my second favorite, like I said. And then my third was. Bugsy 1990 might surprise you. A good movie. You guys should see Bugsy 1990. Another good classic. I'm going to put that on my top 4 list. And then Casino. And Casino, De Niro blew it out, playing a Jew. And this is how Vegas started. So Casino's special to me, living here for 23 years now. But Casino was a classic. A lot of it really had some true facts in it. Like, for example, where they blew up De Niro's car actually happened on Sahara, near Tony Romo's and Marie Callender, right there in that spot, right there, still there, where they blew up his car. And back then they had bulletproof, and they thought he was dead. A lot of the mob guys live to this day at the Country Club. For those who come to Vegas, it's right across the street from the Westgate, which used to be the Hilton. And the scene with the golf, where they were playing golf, and the plane, the FBI had to land in the, right on the golf course, and that was all filmed there. And just another little history for you too, real quick on this. Back then, you had the Rack Pack, and Frank Sinatra, yes, 100% had his ties with the mob. Who actually I got to meet one time, me and my wife. I'm going to get off track, but it's a good story. We got married in the Sands. My wife and I used to own a hair salon in the Claridge Casino in the Sands, and Frank Sinatra was on his end of his career and sick, and she got to cut his hair once. He had a little toupee on the top, not that it matters, and he got sick, and he liked my wife's accent, and we ended up getting married in his room, and he made a nice cake for us. And Robert Murphy was the director. My wife got to know, and Frank Sinatra. No, he did not play any music, but it was just nice to meet him and handshake him, and he had a scotch in his hand. But anyhow, that was, it wouldn't be no Vegas if it wasn't for those guys. But a quick story, I forgot the story. So, Frank Sinatra and the Rack Pack and Dean Martin, they used to live in Vegas, right there in that area at the Country Club, right in the Country Club. But now African Americans at that time, Sammy Davis Jr. was connected. They would not allow them, they had to live in North Las Vegas. Frank Sinatra would threaten to cancel his next show if Sammy Davis Jr. could not stay at the Country Club or in that area. He says, I'm not, and the rest is history. He got to live there, and he was part of the crew of the Frank Sinatra and the Rack Pack. So, but yeah, a lot of that Casino was amazing. Again, I wouldn't be sitting here, and that's why I get upset sometimes that the governor here, Sisolak, acts like it's his state or no. There was no. They ran it. The Italians and the Jews, they started it. The Italians had the muscle. The Jews had the brains. We had the brains too, and we got it started. They got it started. So another good movie. And then I'm going to throw this in here. Now, this wasn't it was a TV show, but Sopranos. A little far-fetched, but for me, being an Italian American, the food, a lot of times where it wasn't always killing it was just food. And Carmela, the part where Tony would say, don't burn the basil. You're gonna burn the basil, and just things like that. And the cabagol. Every show had the cabagol, and the cabagol. And but first of all, a mob guy, Tony Soprano, who went to a psychiatrist. That wouldn't happen in a mob. They did go to counseling. Nobody knew about it. They would be whacked. So a little far fetched, but I just love the acting, and God rest his soul, James Gandolfini played it outstanding. It wasn't a movie, but TV series. I got to put that up on my top 8 list. Got to meet him too. Got to meet him too. It was amazing. I got to meet. He was here at the Rio, and he was in the World Series of Poker. Him and AJ, I forget his name, and I got to meet both of them for about 20 minutes, and then I think it was a month later he actually passed away. But it's a true story. So played an excellent part. Paulie Walnuts. Oh, a lot of people say that's me in a few years with the gray hair on the side and everything. Amazing, amazing. There's my favorite part when they were in the Pine Yards, and that was supposed to be Vineland, New Jersey, where I'm actually from, the South Jersey area, and they had to hunt down this Russian guy, and they were supposed to kill him, and they shot him, and it looked like he was dead, and they got lost, and was in the snow, and they were locked up. Eventually, they found down a broken car, and him and Christopher, Tony's nephew in the series, all they had was ketchup and relish to eat, and the funniest part for me was when Tony finally picked them up into the car. Paulie had mayonnaise in his lip, and he goes, "Are you gonna be all right with this guy? You think he's dead?" He goes, "I'll be all right." And then Tony goes, "You got mayonnaise," and Paulie Walnuts is in the back, "in your mouth." He goes, "What's that, Tone?" "Mayonnaise. You got mayonnaise over here." It's funny as hell. But Sopranos was supposed to be a copycat of the mob in New York. They had a homosexual in it, and back then there was zero tolerance. And then in the show they end up killing the guy. There was zero tolerance in that. Not that I'm against homosexuality, but in the mob it was a no-no. But it was a little realistic, but it was just a good. It was a good. I remember when that came out, there was a little bit, and they didn't even want that shown. They didn't want any kind of mob tang thing. I thought it was it wasn't a good time for that to be a TV series. So there was actually, it wasn't even supposed to be on HBO. That was supposed to be on, I believe, they were going to put it don't quote me on ABC, and then they figured out there was no way with all the cussing and everything to be able to beep all that out. But it was an amazing show. Another one might surprise you a little bit. I don't know if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, go rent it. You have a 2-day off. Boardwalk Empire. Now that wasn't particularly. It had Al Capone in it and Salvatore Luciano, Lucky Luciano in it. Those were the ones who actually started the mob. Great show. It started in Atlantic City. If you get the book, it actually starts when the Indians landed in Atlantic City, and then it went on to the Irish. The boardwalk, and a lot of with Irish and Italian and Jews, and everybody trying to take away Atlantic City and the Chicago mob and New York mob, and it got them all together. Everybody's trying to make money, and that's where cocaine and bootleg, and there was a lot of money in that. Al Capone, one of the richest mobsters ever. Another little story for you, my last name being Capano. I remember when I was working in Atlantic City, true story for you, and I was trying to apply for my license to get in, and then actually to become, try to be a pit boss. There's a lot of problems at the time. Actually, there was a death at a Capano who killed his wife in Delaware, but they would take it very personal with the Italians, Italian Americans back then getting their license. So they looked down at us. So everybody else would get their license maybe in a week or two, and if your name ended with ANO or or Val, let's put it this way, true story, it would take a month and a half for investigation. But mine being Capano, no relations to Capone, by the way, it even took longer. That's the truth. And that's back in the 80s. Little Nicky Scarfo used to run Atlantic City. He was a badass. My mom actually dated a little Nicky Scarfo. I'm not going to get into that story right now, but another time. But I met him, and I was a little pissed because my father recently passed away, and here she is dating little Nicky Scarfo, and I didn't know who he was. Black Cadillac in my driveway. I lived in the Pine Yards. Who the fuck's this guy? And I actually mouthed off at him. I was a young kid, and but yeah, little Nicky Scarfo. But yeah, Boardwalk Empire was a very, very good. It's kind of what started, like I said, with Al Capone, and the Sicilians and the Nebaldons did not get along. So Al Capone was Nebaldon. Salvatore Lucky Luciano was from Sicily, and got connected with the Jews, and they were good friends. And great classic. definitely, it's long. The book is good. The TV series doesn't go, but the book actually starts with the Indians landing in Atlantic City. But then if you just watch the series, it starts with the Irishmen, and just a nice classic movie if you want to sit back and get away from everything. So those are my favorite. I missed one here. The Bronx Tale. Bronx Tale's up there too. I like the Bronx Tale in the part where the motorcycle gang was in the Bronx there, and the Italians, no guns, and these motorcycle guys, they had no respect for anybody, and they went into an Italian bar, and they were real cocky, and they wanted everything. They started off nice, and they wanted all these beers and free stuff, and they got real cocky, and they closed the doors, and let me tell you something. They used bats in their fists, and they beat the shit out of these guys. And a lot of that was true. Bronx Tale, a lot of that, they would back then in the Bronx. No defense now. My wife's Puerto Rican. Now you have a lot of Latinos, but it was 90% Italians. If you wanted to go in an Italian neighborhood, there was no problem. But when you disrespected or try to pull out or steal, forget about it. Like, I said, like, I haven't talked about this too much, but like the stuff that just happened at the White House, I'm not going to get out too much. I said it wouldn't even be climbing over the wall. Forget about it. Let me tell you something. Even kids in the Bronx, man, little kids, 8 years old, 10 years old, they seen another Italian in trouble, even if they didn't like them. It was history. You didn't disrespect. Another good part in that was in the Bronx Tale. It's a really good part. Italian dating an African American. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the part, in Italian, if you're going to marry a woman, and they, well, there's two things. They didn't show this in the movie. One important thing is if a woman doesn't get up and wash the dishes for your mom and sits there, you dump her right away. I don't care how she looks, tits, ass, whatever. Any women watching this, I'm sorry. You dump her right away. Goodbye. But have fun, gone. But another important is when you open up the car door, and so if you get in the car, right, and you open the door for her to get in, and she sits there and in that car, and she doesn't unlock the door for you if it's locked, it's a test. So you're opening the door for the female to get in. You go in and get in the car, okay, and you're actually locking your door on purpose. So how's it go? Yeah, so I'm locking my door. So on purpose, I let her in. I'm walking. You walk around to get in, and it's locked. If she doesn't reach over to unlock your door and just sits there and looks, the fuck out. Dump her. The fuck out of here. It was a test. It was an Italian thing. It means that 99% of the time that woman ain't gonna give a shit about you. So yeah, that was the test. You let her in. You go and you lock your door. Back then you had no remote. Just push down the old door, no remote control, and she just sat there and looked at you and didn't reach over to open that door. Fuck that. She's gone. So those are my movies. Just leave your comments on your list your top three. Just a little Saturday afternoon, and let me know how you feel about mine. Do you agree, disagree, or don't agree at all? So hopefully you're enjoying it. Your Saturday. I'm going to kick back and finish or start this cigar. I already have one cigar. The first cigar was a Gloria Cubana, right here. Very good cigar, Series R. And I'm going to finish those two. I'm going to have a scotch, and I might be I'm looking at the sky. I might head up to the mountains. It's supposed to snow. It went for me. I like the snow. Get a little cabin, fire, enjoy life a little bit. All right, everybody, take care. Say hello to somebody. And tomorrow's another day. If I get any updates on any information on unemployment, I know the website's down today for a little while, or anything on a stimulus package or anything like that. Watch my video yesterday. It was a good video on if you want to get the stimulus, $1,400 or 2,000. There's some talk considering on you're going to have to show documentations that you've gotten one of the two vaccines are out and another one's coming out. It was a good video. I'm not going to get into it now, but watch it yesterday. Ciao.